Hey everybody, welcome to the Youngry Lunch and Learn. And it's Brian McMahon here, and that is Dustin Dye, our creative genius, walking there right behind me over at Expert Dojo. Firstly, my apologies, I am late coming on this. I'm late because we had an entrepreneurship emergency, which is kind of ironic considering that we're going to talk a little bit about how do we avoid entrepreneurship emergency. So look, to give a quick introduction to ourselves, we have a pre-accelerator here in Santa Monica. We bring approximately 100 to 115 companies through our accelerator every single quarter, so we get to see a lot of entrepreneurs. We are situated here on top of the Santa Monica Mall, so we're in a really just awesome spot here right in Santa Monica in the middle of California. I would argue that we have some of the best companies in the world coming through our program. Companies which we have working from literally in the bot space. Like I'll tell you actually one of my favorite companies we have right now is Swell. And Swell are the fastest growing artificial intelligence stroke bot company in the world today. And then on the other side, we have companies such as hardware companies. We've got companies from QVC, companies from Home Shopping Network, Shark Tank companies who've been there as well. So we got a lot coming through. So I want to help you. I want to give you as much advice and as much help as we possibly can today. I put the topic of the video on how to be a successful entrepreneur. I don't believe there's a person in the world who can do a 30 or a 40-minute talk on what a successful entrepreneur looks like. But one of the areas that we're extremely fortunate is in the area of probability. So if you imagine we have 100 companies coming through our program this quarter, we had 100 companies come through last. We had a bunch of companies come through. I think in 2015 we had 400 or 420 companies come through the program. So look, we just get to see a lot of entrepreneurs. And we get to see the entrepreneurs that maybe struggle a little bit for a little bit too long. And we get to see the entrepreneurs like Swell that I mentioned at the start, where they just kill it. I mean, they got 3.5 or 2.5 million users within a 4-month period with kind of zero advertising on marketing. We had 400 or 420 companies come through. Sorry. Hey, Dustin just told me it's working. That's cool. Actually, now I realize how annoying it must be to hear me talk. It drives me nuts. So, yeah, just look. So here's what we see. Let's go through I'll just go through some general important stuff which are core to our fundamental beliefs. And then you can just hit me with any questions that you have on this Facebook Live time. So number one, I think the thing we see most, that we kind of struggle with most, and I'll actually give you an excuse for being late on here, is one of the clients that was dealing directly with this. And that's when you get people who they just follow a bunch of activities, all one after another, as opposed to following a very specific and cohesive plan. So what do I mean by a bunch of activities? I mean that an entrepreneur will wake up one day and they will say, hey, there's a problem. And there's a problem that we have to fix. And that problem is that there are not enough widgets in the world which are the color orange, right? And that problem may be a really important problem. But what do you do next? Do you go into the chaotic, I have to do lots of activities, or do you plan it out properly? So the chaotic, we have to do lots of activities are, I need to form a team. I need to build a website. I need to get my name out. I need to meet influencers. I need to network. I need to go to events. And then you kind of get to a place where you're doing a lot, but none of it's tied into this one place of what you're actually trying to achieve at the end. So have an end in mind when you begin. So if we've decided, hey, we're going to build these widgets, and these widgets are going to be the best orange widgets that are in the world, well, we need to know within the next 12-month period how many of these widgets we need to sell. And by the way, if it's a software, then it's okay how many users we have to have using this widget. Because when we know how much we have to sell, then we can break it back to the users, and then we can break it back to the prospects that we need to get there, and then we can break it back to the universe that we need to actually be able to access, and then we can break it back to the activities that we need to achieve to get there. And this is called milestoning. We use the Waze or Google Maps formula for every single thing that we do all the way through the program. And we really suggest that entrepreneurs do the same thing. Decide what success looks like. Decide when that success is going to happen. Bring that back to a specific month, which is within the next 6 months. And then make sure that you have a very specific milestone for what activities, through which channels you need to accomplish to actually be able to achieve that. It turns it from being this creative, fluffy, incredible, beautiful business that you're going to do to a totally different place, where now you are working very scientifically, very numerically, very quantitatively towards a specific goal that you've set in place yourself. And then everything works backwards. Because once you've decided that milestone, once you say, actually, based on the market, based on the competition, I think we can find 500,000 users. I think we can find buyers for these 3,000 widgets. And if we do that based on the profit margin or based on the scalability of the product, it's going to accomplish X for us. Once we get to that place, we then say to ourselves, okay, a product generally fails for one of 3 reasons. Or a service, right? Either the product itself, or the process, or the people. It's always those 3 reasons. And you'll always find the truth within those 3 reasons. As long as you start it by looking at what your quantitative objectives are, then if those quantitative objectives and the activities are correct, it's always going to lead you back to those places. So how do we make sure that we have the best product? We've got to start with the brand exercise. You start with a brand exercise, which means what is it? And I don't mean spending thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on a big branding agency. I mean, you think like a startup, but you act like a corporation. Now that means that you go through the time to understand what it is that makes you different, what it is that makes you special, what it is that will make someone else create an activity that did not exist before just because you exist. And maybe that activity is buying something, maybe that activity is downloading an app that you have, maybe the activity is telling a friend, maybe it's sharing it on Facebook. But you have to have the right meaning for yourself. So I'll give you actually, hang on a second, we've got a question here. Can we tell the Youngry entrepreneur audience about the Accelerator and who the ideal candidate is to join? I will do, I promise you. I want to give you, if I can give you the philosophy and just finish this area in here, then I'll tell you who can join, because it's very much tied into our brand of what's important to us. So when we started Expert Dojo at the beginning, we said to ourselves, what's the most profitable business out there? Well, it's to take well-established businesses that are already making a bunch of money, that are already doing okay in the world, that have got high chances of successes, and then take a bunch of equity in their business and charge really high fees, right? That's the easy road to go down, and it's the profitable road to go down. But that wasn't where we saw the biggest problem. Where we saw the biggest problem was the failure rate of early stage entrepreneurs. And we realized we can make a difference. And that's what creating a great brand is. It's working out where you can make the maximum difference with people who are prepared to achieve or do a different activity based on that difference that you bring in. So in answer to the question that just came up, we decided right in the early stages that the only people that we were going to bring in were very early stage entrepreneurs that we could really help impact where their difference was going to be. We knew that the failure rate within entrepreneurship at the beginning is like 97, 98%. We knew that if we studied and we worked out why that failure rate was so high, we were going to come up with some conclusions. So our brand probably took us about 8 months to work out, because we didn't know, we knew that there were high-level problems, but we didn't know like the level of the problems that were underneath. So we brought in entrepreneurs and we worked with entrepreneurs, and then we brought in a few at the beginning and we brought in most afterwards. But really, what entrepreneurs do we want to bring in the program? Entrepreneurs that have the best value fit that we know that by giving them coaching, training, education, and connection to investors, that they're going to have the best chance of being able to be successful. Which brings us to another point, which is, what does successful mean? So, okay, let's look at the stats for how to become a Snapchat or how to become a Twitter. Approximately 1 in 1,000 companies is going to get funded. And I don't mean like the 3 Fs, like fools, family, and friends. I mean beyond that, some kind of institutional funding. So 1 in 1,000 companies that will try will get funded. Of those, that one company that goes through the venture funding, 6% of those will come to some form of cash situation. So a cash situation is either an acquisition or it is maybe an IPO, which we don't see that often these days, but some form of cash out situation. So only 6%. And then we also know that built inside that is the fact that this is not really an entrepreneur's game, it's an investor's game. So even if you make it a decent way along the track, up to 50% of entrepreneurs will get fired from their own businesses if they are venture-backed. So what does all this mean? It means that sometimes it's great to build a $50 million business that you own 40-50% of it as, rather than having a $1 billion business that you're going to get fired from and your percentage chances of success are very low. So generally we'll say to people right at the beginning, guys, have a real Waze Google map to get you to the place that you need to get to. And then if you create a $10, $20 million business, then sure. And we can then turn it into a $1 billion business, maybe. But first of all, control and absolute focus on the goals that you're trying to put in place. So that's hopefully answered that. What else do we have? Who are some of the companies that have come through the Expert Dojo network or the Accelerator? So like I said, we have Swell, who have acquired 2.5 million users over the last 4 months. The fastest growing bot company in the world, just about to be announced by Facebook as their biggest success within the bot space. We love bots, by the way. And if any of you don't know about bots, then you should speak to this guy here. Meow. This is Mr. Dustin Dye. And Dustin works with Swell and just a bunch of companies that are just smart. So when it comes to artificial intelligence is coming into place in every single area, to the extent that there are certain platforms like Snapchat and Facebook and other platforms that are questioning whether apps are even more important than bots. And some bot companies are actually getting rid of their apps to change it to bots. So we love them. Another great company, FitPlan app. FitPlan app came down from Canada. They generally go to very high-level influencers, so like people who have got 1 million followers, 5 million followers, people like Lewin, and they will say to those people, guys, you've got 10 million followers. You should make some kind of money from it, right? And they say, okay, great. And then they share the money 50-50 with them. It's that simple. They create a fitness regime. The influencers send it out to their fans. We love the company because the cost of marketing is extremely low. And they've got up to $150,000 per month in subscriber revenue. They got like 100,000 subscribers coming through. Again, another great company. Just jumped from a $1.5 million valuation to 10 million within a couple of months. We also have Easy Ads and TripCam. Again, just jumped up to a 10 million valuation over the last couple of weeks. We got Smart CSM. Beautiful company, Smart CSM. They are revolutionizing and changing the entire way that companies actually see stuff in the future. We got Drive. Drive are a little bit earlier stage. They're probably just getting past seed. But what we love about Drive is they've got exclusive contracts from BMW, exclusive contracts from Volvo, from Lexus. And they're all trying to make sure that they can get to a thing. And we got a bunch more as well. How do we determine a company's valuation? Okay, so really interesting question. When you start as a software company, you will pretty much say my valuation is somewhere between $2 and $3 million. Not because your valuation is $2 to $3 million, but because the investment industry will give you that valuation because they know that below $1 million, it's physically impossible for you to make it through Series B, C, and D. You won't have enough equity left. And above $3 million, it just becomes a little bit insane. So if you've got a really strong software, a really strong team, really good exited team, and you have an idea that maybe you've taken to minimum viable product, you're probably valued at $3 million, and then the investors will knock you down. They'll come in and they'll say, hey, we want to invest in this. But, I mean, I can't say the company, but we had a company the other day where an investor came in, they've built up really good traction. Because the traction increases the valuation, because as you get to Series A, your valuation can be anywhere from $10, $15 million, and then it gets to Series B, it can be $50 million. And look at Uber, even when they were at Series C, or look at WeWork when they were at Series C, it can jump up to $1 billion, $5 billion. Like, it's just, think about it like a game of cards or a game of poker. It's all based on how much you think you can win. So if you believe that the company is going to be worth 50 billion and there's a direct line of sight to that, then that increases the valuation. But initially, $2 to $3 million. And if you're weak and you're forming a good old toxic relationship with investors, then they will kick your ass down to 1.5 million. And if you're strong, then you'll do what our company did recently. And when they got offered 6 million, they got offered 1.2 million on a 6 million valuation, we told them to go screw himself. In a very, very nice way. Didn't say no, said no, not at this valuation. So the great thing about building your company, building your traction, getting stronger, is that you can put yourself into a place where you don't need to take desperate valuations. And look, this is a really important point. I don't know if anybody watches Startup, the podcast, but there's a great podcast there for Dove, the chap who started American Apparel. And he will tell you, I think at the very beginning of Startup, at the podcast at the beginning, they say, how are you, Dov? And he said, well, you know, a year ago, I had $1 billion company. And I had huge traction. And I had a beautiful car. And most people liked me. And I was one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. Today, I'm driving a Volvo, and I got no money. My life is a mess. I got kicked out of the place that I started. It's all down to control. Volvos aren't so bad. Come on. Volvos aren't so bad. A Lamborghini's better. Not that it's better to drive as a car, but I prefer a Lamborghini because you can sell it and get more money for it. Right? And we can have a fun drive as well. So yeah, just keep control of your company. Really watch the voting rights and really watch to make sure that you have control. Really make sure, just bear in mind, and actually there's a question here which is, look, you know, what advice do we have for a student? The challenge with entrepreneurship is nobody teaches us entrepreneurship in school. None of us. And I don't care whether you're in college right now or whether you were in college a long time ago. The game is, in effect, a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme for investors. It's not for entrepreneurs. So the rules are put in place for investors. We had an amazing attorney of ours in the other day who was just talking to some of our entrepreneurs. And he said, whenever you're doing business on any level, move at the speed of trust. So i.e. when you're bringing people in, i.e. when you're having investors, i.e. when you're working with anybody in there, work on the basis that whether you're a student or whether you're a first-time entrepreneur, we are weak, we don't know that much, we don't understand the contracts that are being put in front of us, and we're trying to build $1 billion company. And honestly, it's not easy to build $1 billion company. So don't have a huge amount of trust unless that trust is. Question there as well regarding the events that we throw at the space. They're all entrepreneur related. And actually, I got a secret for you. I'm going to tell everybody something that has not even been announced yet. Our vision initially within Expert Dojo was we're going to provide the connections to entrepreneurs that they don't have themselves. We are going to provide the coaching to entrepreneurs that they don't have themselves. We're going to provide the training to entrepreneurs that they also need as well. And we're going to make sure that they're positioned to be able to get their product to market. What we were missing and what we always wanted to do was to have a place that we can showcase the amazing creativity that is within early stage entrepreneurship. We are the people who change the world. So we're going to take on a new space. It is right beside us. It's the big space right in the middle of the Santa Monica Mall. We haven't even signed it, but we're going to sign it in the next day or so. And we're going to think of Willy Wonkas for entrepreneurs. That was Dustin's description for it, which I've taken because it's beautiful. We're going to create the Expert Dojo Innovation Space. We're going to showcase the greatest creation that exists anywhere which is entrepreneurship. Tampon Tribe, we're another one of our clients. We like Tampon Tribe as well. How do we value a company if they are pre-revenue to investors? I went through that a little bit, but I'll do it again. Normally your valuation, if you're a tech company, is like $2 to $3 million. If you're pre-revenue, I'm guessing your product has been built. We like Envy as well, another one of our clients. I got a feeling there's some more banners coming through here. But look, the valuation is based on desperation in many cases. If you don't have a lot of money, I had entrepreneurs that I've kind of been a bit upset with who have been prepared to accept taking $100,000 or $150,000 for a valuation of $1 million. And it upsets me because I know as soon as you put a valuation of $1 million for your company, you're dead. You're never going to make it through the next, who do we have coming here? Oh, I actually like this company a lot. You can't see this. This is Open Campaign. Open Campaign, one of our favorite companies. And I'll tell you why. It's not because they're huge yet. They're almost huge. They have about 80,000 followers on Facebook. But why we like them is because they accurately predicted the election. They accurately predicted that Donald Trump was going to get into power. And they did it not by asking the question, Veggie Dome coming through as well, which is keeping vegetables fresh on your table. Okay, cool. Anyways, I can tell Youngry are getting bored. Okay, Dustin's not good at carrying banners. Youngry are getting bored of me because they've said, what does the term Youngry mean to you? Right. Age is a perspective. So that perspective means that it doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. It doesn't matter if you're in college or if you're outside. For me, one of the saddest things that can happen to an individual is when we forget that creativity. We forget. Can you stop bringing banners in, please? For God's sake. Okay, this is you, Scooters. So, when you get old, and I mean really old, you can be 20 or you can be 30 or you can be 40, but what's happening is you've lost that drive to create new, meaningful and special things. So Youngry for me is that it's not about age, it's about your mind, it's about what you're doing, it's about what you bring into the world. So that's why I love Youngry. Okay. Brian, thank you for doing this. What are the top 3 books for beginning entrepreneurs and why? Okay, a couple of books I love. Man, I love Gary Vaynerchuk, not because his books are good, it's just because he's so damn angry about the world. And I love the fact that he inspires, he just this spark inside you where you think, shit, what have I been doing? Have I just been doing my work, going home, watching some TV, and then getting to Bot Copy and Helora? Yeah, more companies coming through there. So what am I doing? Am I passing my whole life living somebody else's life, working in somebody else's company, doing somebody else's job, and then watching somebody else's vision on TV? Or am I actually going to do something great? So Gary Vaynerchuk is that guy who gets us to step out of there and just say, you know what, just fucking do it. And that's really important because more people in the world should do that. I love. Number 2, I love, but there's a book actually, no, I'm going to move my number 2. There's a book called Pitch Anything, which is by a chap called Oren something. But if you look at Pitch Anything on Audible, you'll find it. I really like Pitch Anything because he teaches us how not to be weak. So a lot of the time with entrepreneurs, we're so afraid and affected by the fact that the investors control so much of our success that our entire posture and the way we are and how we speak reflects that. And what Oren teaches us to do is to be powerful and strong. I mean, shit, we're the ones who are creating the product. Why the hell should we be afraid of people who are glorified accountants? So make sure that you read that as well. You will get phenomenal tips out of it. My final book is a chap that I interviewed before and I really like. I think Ash knows him as well. A chap called Nir E.L. And Nir is N-I-L. E-L. This is Dustin's contribution to the Facebook Live. That's good. Yeah. I like that. Thanks, Dustin. And Nir E.L. did a book which is called Hooked. And Hooked is really good. He works with LinkedIn, works with Twitter, works with Facebook, really well-known guy up in Silicon Valley. And Hooked is all about how do we create the behavioral change that's actually going to have people giving a shit in any way about our products. And more importantly, how does it make them viral? So, again, really like that. I think I was asked earlier on as well a little bit about what events do we do here. All entrepreneurship events. If you want to learn about entrepreneurship events, just jump on the dojo site under expertdojo.com, look under events. We have everything from mastermind groups to everything else as well. We actually don't have any companies who are Ireland-based whatsoever. I think Ireland sucks in technology, but we do have a calendar. And I think just the fact that we have a calendar for Ireland is pretty cool in itself. So what else have we got? Hit me with any other questions you have. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on rambling on about what makes a great entrepreneur. I want to go back to the college question, which is, as a college student, what would you advise? Be an entrepreneur. It's so cool. You got at least 5 years that you can go back home if you need to, and you can get your mom and dad to take care of you. You can survive pretty much anything right now. It is way harder starting to be an entrepreneur when you're really old. And my viewpoint has changed on this massively. I used to think that you got to work in a job and you got to learn the job and you got to become really good to have the right to be able to go out and start your own business. And I think I was absolutely wrong. I want to totally disagree with myself. So you should just go out there and just do it. Like Dustin put on the board there. There are so many things broken. There are more things. Maybe there was always things broken. I don't know. Maybe it's more obvious now that we got Trump in power, that there's just a bunch of stuff which are not right on many levels. And guys like Open Campaign, who'd massively benefit from that within the political environment. Our Veggie Dome, where people are starting to question their health and how they are. Our Helora, our other company, who are helping people with actually making sure that they save money on healthcare. There's just a lot of things to do. So as a student, throw yourself into entrepreneurship. Learn about entrepreneurship. Don't just believe that you can go in and you can do it. Take the time to understand how do you build an amazing business from the ground up. And then surround yourself with great people. The folks over in Youngry are doing something I really like, which is why I'll always support Ash and the team there on any level. And that's that they believe that being young and hungry, being an entrepreneur, being able to change the world is something that we can all do, every single one of us. We all have an amazing idea in us. It doesn't mean we all have to be the CEO. Some of us are the CEO, some of us are the CFO, some of us are the people who run the operations in the business. We all have our different places within this area. But you've got a bunch of great people out there that you can learn from. Most of those people are very happy to help you. And we fit into that same boat as well. We love early stage entrepreneurs. We don't really care about people who've got jobs. We don't really care about people who are not entrepreneurs, but early stage we love. I'm just being asked, who helped inspire us to create Expert Dojo. And I'll say there was a few things. The first thing is, it's a huge problem that's broken. It's a bit like looking at homeless people at the side of the road, and then somebody decides one day, there's too many people who are homeless. There's too many people who... It's funny how I just equated startup to homelessness. But actually, it's probably a good equation. But it's a problem. The fact that so many early stage startups fail is just a huge problem. And actually, if you really want to understand the inspiration behind it, I did a TEDx talk last year, which I was really just happy I did, because it helped me explore why we set up a program like this. You can just find it, just TEDx, just look at Brian McMahon, post a comment there if you like it, post a comment there if you don't like it. My whole reason for being and living right now, everything that we do here, whether it's me or whether it's Dustin, or anyone who helps the two of us here, is just focused on improving the success rates of entrepreneurship. I have had businesses in a bunch of countries, lived in a bunch of countries, been around, and I've never had purpose like I personally have when we work with entrepreneurs here and try and change their lives. But I also surrounded myself with really great mentors and coaches and friends in the period that led up to this. because it wasn't a straight line from other businesses to suddenly setting up Expert Dojo. We went through Pay It Forward Labs and then trying to understand how could we help entrepreneurs more and what are the real challenges and what they're facing and everything else. And I sat down with Ash from Hungary. I always remember the time we sat down in Starbucks about 2 years ago when Ash was just so giving with the advice and the help that he gave. So people like Ash have been monumental in getting us to the place we're at. And then everything else is an absolute journey that is tied into how you are and how we are as people. So the next space that we're going into is a direct result of how we've done in this space here. The people that we're working with and the companies that we're bringing through are a direct reflection of the amount that we care about what those companies get. So a lot of things, but a great journey, and I would say we're in the most privileged place anywhere in America right now. We've got 100 cool companies coming through our program. Our program will end at the end of March, when we'll have a huge investor festival. The largest one in the United States. We'll bring in about 950 investors, and those investors will be entirely focused on trying to get entrepreneurs to the next level. So I don't want to keep on ranting or raving. I've pretty much told you what's really important for us within entrepreneurship. It's having that very specific, streamlined end goal in place, which you then track back to activities that you have today. I told you that as soon as you do that, you want to make sure that your process is right, your product is right, and your team are right. I spoke a little bit about the product, I suppose, with branding. Please, everybody do a branding process. The process, you should work with a great user experience person. I suck at creativity. I'm good at talking. I'm good at public speaking. I'm good at interacting with people. They're my skills. Creativity, and especially online creativity, I'm not good at, but Dustin's amazing at that. So know your skills and know your failings, and make sure that you have a good user experience person helping the entire life cycle of how people interact with you and your business. And I would say maybe the final thing is on the people, question how good you are. Like really, by measuring the tasks that need to be done for the business to be successful. I have another question which has come here, which is experienced within equity crowdfunding. I'm going to talk about funding actually for a couple of minutes in general. So you have, at the very beginning, you got, like I said, 3 Fs: fools, friends, and family. Very dangerous place to be. If you invest in it, good luck to you. Make sure your lead investor is great. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for people to invest, rather than going to your mom straight away, see if you can get a lead investor who's outside, someone who really sees value in the product. Because, man, losing your friends and your family's money, that sucks. It sucks for you as a human being. It's just not a good place to be. And we don't do it on purpose, and maybe we fight harder if they're involved, but just if you can get an outside investor, it always helps. And the next level traditionally has always been some form of venture capital or some form of traditional investor, whether it be an angel investor or a venture investor or an accredited investor or somebody who's just, big shot, who's got some decent money. And when I say accredited investor, it used to always be very specifically around if you don't have either $1 million or you don't earn $200,000 a year or you just don't have a bunch of money, you can't invest. And then there was an act which was passed last year, which was the Jobs Act. And what the Jobs Act pretty much said was that anybody can invest money in a business. So platforms like Start Engine, WeFunder, bunch of them. Actually a lot came in and disappeared really quickly. Start Engine have stayed, and probably the strongest one we have down here in California, started by Howard Marks, who's been around the startup space for a long time. And these things are interesting because what Start Engine did, same as WeFunder, is they went out to investors. Firstly, the big investors. And they said to them, look, list on our platform and we let you see the most innovative models in the world. Now, this should not be confused with rewards-based crowdfunding. So Kickstarter, Indiegogo. These are merely product sites for early stage companies. So you want to make a bikini that does something different, or you want to make sure that there's a cuddly toy that you can put into your bed that like the eyes shine up at night, you go to Kickstarter so you can raise money to make the product so you can get it out to people. But equity-based crowdfunding are people investing in your company. So I'm going to give you good news and then not such good news. The good news is that you have evangelists for your product. So as long as you have a good community, then people like Start Engine will not just push it to those accredited investors, but they push it beyond by using PR, by using marketing, by using a multiple of channels, which you need to pay for, but then they push it beyond. And you get yourself into a place where you can be like Harley Davidson. You have all these guys on bikes, and they're not going to take a Honda bike in a hot minute. They're sticking with Harley Davidson, not because they just love your product, but also because they want to make sure that your product is their business, so they get to make money on it in the future. So we really like it because of that. I also really like it because it's a phenomenal marketing channel. So the ability to be able to get out to tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people and have all those people raving about your product, that's huge, right? Even if they don't invest, the fact that they find out about whatever widget it is that you have is just really powerful. Those things I like. What's negative? A few things. Firstly, institutional investors are not crazy in many cases about equity-based crowdfunding because they worry about the cap table. And the cap table means there's just a lot of investors. Now, even though it's all wrapped up into one space and it's put onto one term sheet, it's just a lot of investors. What's the other thing I'm not crazy about? You know, if you think it's a pain in the ass dealing with one institutional investor or two institutional investors, man, I will tell you, it is a nightmare dealing with 300 or 400 or 1,000. So that's tough. I personally believe that the positives of equity crowdfunding, being able to get access to a huge crowd, being able to speak your story, being able to have people who are evangelists for your product, outweigh just the hassles of what you're trying to do. I also believe you get a higher valuation for your company when you go on equity crowdfunding because you have people would maybe argue with this is my personal philosophy, but you have less educated investors. The people investing are not just, well, let me rephrase that actually. The investors are not investing principally to make 20 times or 30 times what they invested in, which is normally the case in institutional investment. They're investing for a multitude of reasons. Some are purely money-based, and some are purely emotionally based. But they normally fit in the middle with just this really good reason for going forward. So really like equity crowdfunding. Make sure you have a huge community. If you think you can just go onto an equity crowdfunding platform with no marketing dollars, no community, but a product which rocks, well, you're going to be the poorest person on the platform. And here's the final negative on the platform, which you just got to be super careful of. If you go on an XR world and that you're going to do great, but you've got no community, you've got no marketing, you've got no intention of going for it, and you just believe, like Kevin Costner, they will come. You're not only going to be very, very upset with the fact that you don't raise any money, but you're also going to feel very stupid about the fact that everybody for the whole future of the world will be able to see that you failed horribly on your crowdfunding project. And that is a problem because institutional investors are going to look for social proof. And if the only social proof that you have is that you failed on an equity crowdfunding platform, it's tough. You just only go down that road if you can avoid it. So, oh man, I've gone on. I could talk. I'm an Irish guy, right? So I could talk for hours and hours and hours. How long have I been talking for? Probably 45 minutes. So it's a long lunch and learn. I want to put it out there. I don't want to just keep you for the sake of keeping you. I hope the advice has been helpful. I hope the focus on the product, the process, and the people will really help you focus on what it is that can help your product become successful. I hope that the focus on creating $30, $50 million companies where you hold the majority of the equity will maybe just make you think about the voting rights, the cap table, the investors that you bring into your product. I hope my focus on acquiring users very early and actually just being a cage fighter. I mean, that's what we teach people. We just say, look, we're not looking for anyone to come in here and just showcase in a beautiful, eloquent, ballerina manner how great your product is. We want boy and girl cage fighters who are prepared to do whatever the hell is necessary to get your product out there. So I hope all of those have helped. I really hope that our direct line planning has helped as well, on you being able to walk away today and say, okay, I'm going to take some corporate principles. I'm going to think like a startup, but I am going to act like a corporation. And I really want, that's just a big takeaway for us. This whole philosophy in LA or California, fake it till you make it, is just not good. It's not good because we know we're faking it. Don't fake it till you make it. Make it. Make it on different levels. Make it immediately. If you have to lie about your product at the beginning, you've got a problem. And you're probably not going to succeed. Now, does that mean that you can't get a product out to the market that doesn't have all the benefits in it? No. But build strong, loyal audiences by making sure that you give not just the level of value that you promise in every statement, but 10 to 20% more. So look, I hope all of that stuff has helped you. I give my email here. It's Brian at Expert Dojo. Anybody on this is very, very, very welcome to reach out anytime. We're on top of the Santa Monica shopping mall, opposite from the Cheesecake Factory. So any of you are welcome to come here. You can look on our site and you can check out the events. And again, if anybody's facing maybe challenging situations with anyone, whether it be providers, maybe in your business, whatever it is, you know, myself or the guys here, whether you're in the program or whether you're not in the program, we're really happy to sit down and give you 20 minutes, half an hour of our time and try and help make it a little bit easier. So, I hope you like the banners as well. I like that touch. That's good. We should do that all the time. So look, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been useful for you all. And as I said, this is just me living the life over here in Santa Monica, part of Expert Dojo. Come and join us sometime.